The wind sang a mournful tune as it rustled through the ancient trees that surrounded the old Whitmore estate. Birds chirped their evening songs, but the house itself, standing tall and imposing, was silent, its windows reflecting the grey clouds above. Evelyn's casket was a simple pine, adorned only with a few sprigs of lilac and white roses. Laura stood a little away from the gathering, her dark sunglasses concealing her puffy red eyes. Tom, looking more and more like his grandfather every day, stood stoically beside her. Little Sarah clutched a teddy bear, looking lost. Richard, ever the pillar of strength, held Laura's hand. "It'll be okay," he whispered. Laura nodded but remained silent. The weight of her mother's death, coupled with the responsibility of the estate, weighed heavily on her. The service was short. As the last words were spoken and the coffin began its descent, Sarah tugged on Laura's dress. "Mummy, Grandma is waving at me from the window." Laura, startled, looked up to the mansion's top window, half expecting to see a face, but there was nothing. "It's just your imagination, sweetie," she murmured, hugging Sarah close. After the funeral, guests offered their condolences, speaking in hushed tones about Evelyn's eccentricities and her secluded life in the mansion. Laura could hear whispers, speculations about the cause of death, and the oddities of the Whitmore lineage. Inside the house, as Laura guided the guests through the grand living room adorned with old portraits, Tom wandered off. He found himself in his grandmother's room. The air was heavy with the scent of lavender and mothballs. On the bedside table, a framed photograph of a much younger Evelyn with a baby Laura caught his eye. Behind it, almost hidden, was another photo of Evelyn with a group of people, all dressed in dark robes, standing in what appeared to be a circle. Diana, a frail woman with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, approached Laura. "Your mother was a remarkable woman," she said, her voice soft. Laura looked at her, trying to place her. "I'm sorry, have we met?" Diana smiled. "A long time ago. Your mother and I were close." Before Laura could ask more, Sarah interrupted. "Mummy, can we go home now? This house is cold." Richard, sensing Laura's unease, stepped in. "Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your support." As the night drew on and the last of the guests left, the family settled in. The decision had been made earlier to stay at the estate for a while, both to sort through Evelyn's belongings and to decide the future of the house. But as Laura tucked Sarah into bed, the child whispered, "Mummy, Grandma says she's still here and she has something to show us." Laura, trying to maintain her composure, replied, "It's just a dream, darling. Sleep now." But deep down, a sense of unease began to grow. The echoes of the past were loud, and the Whitmore legacy was about to unravel. Morning light seeped through the gaps in the heavy drapes of the Whitmore mansion. The house, with all its creaks and groans, seemed to awaken slowly, begrudgingly. Sarah was the first to rise, her teddy bear still clutched in her arms. The mansion, with its countless rooms and corridors, was an explorer's paradise for a child. Laura, meanwhile, stood in the kitchen, a mug of coffee in her hand. The room was adorned with vintage appliances and porcelain, a testament to Evelyn's refusal to modernise. As steam rose from the mug, Laura's thoughts drifted to her mother. The complexities of their relationship, the whispered secrets, and the shared moments of joy and sorrow. Tom emerged from his room, hair tousled. "This place feels like a museum," he commented, reaching for a cereal box. "Just for a few days," Richard assured, joining them, "until we sort things out." Diana's words from the previous day kept playing in Laura's mind. After breakfast, she decided to find the woman and seek answers. As Laura walked through the town, she noticed many familiar, albeit aged, faces. The townsfolk whispered among themselves, throwing occasional glances her way. She finally found Diana in a small cottage at the edge of town, surrounded by wildflowers and herbs. The inside of the cottage was warm and smelled of incense. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with ancient tomes and strange artifacts. Diana sat by the fireplace, a black cat purring on her lap. "Ah, Laura," she greeted, her voice as soft as before. "I've been expecting you." Laura hesitated for a moment. "Who exactly are you to my mother? Why do I not remember you?" Diana sighed. "Evelyn and I were friends, more like sisters during our younger days. But as time went on and your family's legacy became apparent, we drifted apart." "Legacy?" Laura echoed. Diana rose, leading Laura to a table covered in old photographs. Among them, Laura recognized her younger self, her parents, and even her grandparents. But there were also photos of ceremonies, of hooded figures and symbols drawn in chalk. "Evelyn was the keeper of the Whitmore secrets," Diana began. "Secrets that date back generations. Your family has always been intertwined with the spiritual realm, and with it, a dark entity." Laura felt a shiver down her spine. "Are you saying my family practiced witchcraft?" Diana hesitated. "Not in the way you imagine. The Whitmores have always been mediums, bridges between this world and the next. But somewhere along the line, the bond with the dark entity was formed." Back at the mansion, Sarah approached Tom with a faded journal she had found under a loose floorboard in her room. The pages were filled with elegant but hurried handwriting and detailed sketches of symbols. "I think it's Grandma's diary," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with curiosity. Tom, intrigued, began to leaf through the pages. The entries spoke of rituals, dreams, and a looming presence. One entry stood out. "The entity grows restless. It seeks a vessel. The pact must be honoured." Richard, feeling out of his depth, decided to explore the mansion's vast library. Among the dusty tomes and family records, he discovered newspaper clippings, some dating back a century. They spoke of mysterious disappearances, unexplained events, and the Whitmore family's deep roots in the town's history. As night fell and the mansion's shadows grew longer, the family gathered in the living room. Armed with the journal, clippings, and Laura's conversation with Diana, they began to piece together the puzzle of their dark inheritance. The fireplace crackled, its flames casting eerie shadows on the old portraits adorning the walls. Richard, ever the pragmatist, tried to make sense of it all. "So, you're saying that our family is cursed because of some old pact?" he asked, skepticism evident in his voice. Laura, still processing her conversation with Diana, nodded slowly. "It seems that our ancestors, in their quest for power or perhaps protection, made a deal with an entity. Over the years, this entity has been demanding its due." Sarah clutched her teddy bear tighter, looking up with innocent eyes. "Is that why Grandma talks to me?" Tom, engrossed in the journal, looked up. "There are several mentions here about the seeking. It's some sort of ritual that renews the bond with this entity." Laura remembered the ceremonies in the photographs. "I recall attending some gatherings as a child. They always seemed like simple family reunions. But I remember chanting, and everyone standing in a circle around a large candle." Richard frowned. "We need to break this cycle. I won't have our children haunted by this legacy." Just then, a gust of wind blew open the windows, extinguishing the fireplace. The room plunged into darkness, and a chilling silence enveloped them. Moments later, a soft lullaby wafted through the air, one that Laura recognized from her childhood. "It's coming from the attic," Tom whispered, pointing to the ceiling. Gathering their courage, the family decided to investigate. The attic, filled with trunks of old clothes, heirlooms, and forgotten memories, was dimly lit by the pale moonlight. In the center of the room stood a grand mirror, its silver surface reflecting the room but with a subtle, shimmering distortion. As they approached, the lullaby grew louder. The mirror's surface rippled like water, and in its depths they saw fleeting images, the old Whitmore ancestors, rituals, and glimpses of their own lives. Sarah, drawn to the mirror, reached out to touch it. As her fingers made contact, the room changed. The attic was no longer old and dusty but seemed alive, with candles lit in a circle and hooded figures chanting. In the center stood a young Evelyn, holding baby Laura. The figures chanted louder, and Evelyn, tears streaming down her face, marked Laura's forehead with a dark symbol. The vision shifted again, showing a teenage Laura, then Tom as a toddler, and finally Sarah as a baby. Each time, the same ritual, the same marking, the same tears from Evelyn. The vision faded, and the family found themselves back in the attic, the mirror now silent and still. Tom, shaking, pointed to a corner. There lay a chest, inscribed with the same symbol seen in the vision. Inside, they found old letters, written by generations of Whitmores, each detailing their experiences, their fears, and their hopes of breaking the pact. One letter, dated just a year back, was from Evelyn. It read, "To my dearest Laura, Tom, and Sarah, the weight of our legacy is both a blessing and a curse. The entity has granted our family much, but it also demands much in return. I have tried, in my own way, to protect you all, to appease it, to keep it at bay. But it grows restless and seeks a new bond, a new vessel. Remember, our strength lies in our unity. Only together can we hope to break free." As the night deepened, the family, bound by love and a newfound determination, decided it was time to confront their dark heritage and free themselves from the chains of the past. Morning light once again painted the old Whitmore estate in soft hues of pink and gold. The events of the previous night weighed heavily on the family, but there was a renewed sense of purpose. The breakfast table was abuzz with discussions, research from the journal, and strategies to break the bond with the dark entity. Sarah, playing with her food, suddenly spoke up. "Grandma told me that only by facing it together can we make it go away." Lara sighed. "Your grandmother was wise. We must stand united." Tom added, "The journal mentions a counter-ritual, something that was theorized but never attempted. It requires the blood of 3 generations to be performed at the very spot the original pact was made. That would be the clearing in the woods," Richard recalled, thinking back to the stories he had heard about the Whitmore family's ancient ceremonies. Armed with knowledge, determination, and the materials listed in the journal, the family ventured into the dense woods behind the mansion. Birds chirped hesitantly, and the deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. After what seemed like hours, they arrived at a clearing. At its centre stood a large flat stone stained with ages of rituals. Laura began drawing symbols from the journal around the stone, using a mixture of salt and crushed herbs. Tom lit candles at each point of the drawn pentagram, while Richard set up a small altar with family heirlooms. Sarah, holding her teddy bear, joined hands with her family, forming a protective circle around the stone. As the ritual began, Laura chanted the verses from the journal, her voice clear and unwavering. Tom and Richard repeated after her, their combined voices echoing through the woods. Sarah, in her innocence, hummed the lullaby from the attic, adding an eerie melody to the ritual. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A cold wind swept through the clearing, extinguishing the candles. From the shadows, the entity emerged. It was formless, a swirling mass of darkness with piercing red eyes. It circled the family, its presence oppressive and malevolent. "We reject your bond," Laura shouted, her voice filled with defiance. "We stand united, and you have no power over us." The entity hissed, its form shifting and contorting, trying to find a weak point in the family's unity. But they stood firm, their combined energies forming a barrier. Drawing a small blade, Laura made a small cut on her palm, allowing a few drops of blood to fall onto the stone. Tom and Sarah did the same. The blood sizzled upon contact, emitting a bright white light. The entity screamed in rage, its form becoming more erratic and unstable. The family continued their chants, louder and with more conviction. The clearing was filled with a blinding light, the energies of the Whitmores battling the ancient darkness. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The entity was gone, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the clearing was bathed in a serene golden light. Exhausted but victorious, the family embraced, their bond stronger than ever. "We did it," Richard whispered, his voice filled with relief. Laura nodded, tears of joy in her eyes. Together, the woods, once filled with foreboding, now seemed to come alive with life and vibrancy. Birds sang louder, the sun shone brighter, and the wind carried a fragrance of blooming flowers. As the Whitmore family emerged from the clearing, they felt an immediate change in the atmosphere. The town, which had been clouded by the oppressive aura of the entity, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Returning to the mansion, they found Diana waiting at the entrance, her expression one of quiet anticipation. "It's done, isn't it?" she asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Laura nodded, wrapping Diana in a hug. "Thanks to you, we found the strength and knowledge to confront it." Diana chuckled softly. "I just pointed the way. The strength was always within your family." The next few days saw a transformation not just in the Whitmore family, but in the town itself. People approached them with gratitude, sharing stories of how the dark cloud over their lives had lifted. Children played freely in the streets, laughter replaced whispered conversations, and a renewed sense of community took hold. However, as the days turned into weeks, Laura began to experience vivid dreams. In them she saw her ancestors, each offering words of wisdom and guidance. They spoke of the responsibilities of being a Whitmore, of the power that lay dormant within their bloodline, and the importance of passing down their knowledge. One night Evelyn appeared in Laura's dream. She looked radiant, free from the burdens that had weighed her down in life. "My dear Laura," she began, "while you've banished the dark entity, your journey has just begun. Embrace your heritage, teach your children, and ensure our legacy is one of light, not darkness." Laura awoke with a start, the weight of her grandmother's words heavy on her mind. Over breakfast, she shared her dream with the family. "We've been given a second chance," Tom mused. "Perhaps it's time we use our abilities for the greater good." Sarah, with her characteristic innocence, piped up. "Maybe we can help other families, like us." Richard, wrapping an arm around Laura, smiled. "The Whitmores have a new legacy to write." With a newfound purpose, the Whitmore family began to delve deeper into their heritage. They studied ancient texts, learned rituals of protection and healing, and became a beacon of hope for those tormented by supernatural forces. The mansion, once a symbol of their cursed legacy, was transformed into a place of learning and refuge. Diana, with her vast knowledge, became a mentor to Laura, guiding her through the intricacies of their craft. Together, they held workshops, teaching others about the spiritual realm and offering solace to those in need. As months turned into years, the Whitmore family's reputation grew. People from all over sought their guidance and their story became legendary. However, at the heart of it all was a simple truth. The power of unity, love, and determination can overcome even the darkest of shadows. The seasons changed, but the Whitmore mansion remained timeless, a sanctuary for those seeking knowledge, healing, and refuge. People travelled from distant lands, drawn by tales of the family that had faced an ancient darkness and emerged victorious. On one particular autumn evening, the mansion was abuzz with activity. Today marked the 10th anniversary of the banishment of the dark entity. The town had organised a festival in honour of the Whitmores, celebrating their courage and the newfound prosperity that had flourished since that fateful day. Lanterns lined the streets, their soft glow complemented by the melodies of local musicians. Children ran around, their laughter echoing in the air, while adults shared stories, their voices a blend of gratitude and admiration. Inside the mansion, the family prepared for the evening. Laura, looking at her reflection, adjusted a pendant, a family heirloom passed down through generations. The weight of responsibility, though immense, was now borne with pride and grace. Tom, now a scholar in his own right, was lost in conversation with a group of enthusiasts, discussing theories and exchanging knowledge. Sarah, no longer the little girl clutching her teddy bear, had matured into a confident young woman, assisting her mother and uncle in their endeavours. As the night wore on, Richard took to the stage that had been set up in the mansion's courtyard. The crowd hushed in anticipation. 10 years ago, he began, his voice strong and clear. "We faced our family's dark past, but with love, unity, and determination, we turned the tide. Tonight is not just a celebration of the Whitmore legacy, but of every individual in this town. Together we've rebuilt, grown, and flourished." Laura joined her husband on stage, holding his hand. "Our family's story is a testament to the fact that darkness can be overcome. We are proud of our heritage, of the lessons we've learned, and the community we're a part of." The night culminated in a grand display of fireworks, lighting up the night sky, each burst a symbol of hope, resilience, and unity. Years rolled by, but the legend of the Whitmore family remained as vibrant as ever. The mansion, once a place of secrets and shadows, became a beacon of light, a testament to the enduring human spirit. And so, in the annals of time, the Whitmore legacy was rewritten, no longer a tale of a cursed bloodline, but a story of redemption, love, and the indomitable power of unity.